Welcome to Wrestling Travels Lockdown Sessions. As always, we are brought to you by our good friends in New York City, True Heel Heat, TRU. There's no E. They got the E out. But these guys have a podcast. They've got an interview show. They're blowing up all over the place. I don't know when SP3 sleeps, but the guy knows more about wrestling than wrestling does. My hat is off to him. But they are our good friends, our good sponsors. They bring you the lockdown sessions. And we bring you Franco Varga today. Franco, how are you?
What's going on? Thank you for having me. And you forgot it. The biggest wrestler ever, Franco Varga. Thanks for having me on.
You know, I have so much trouble remembering all of my True Heel Heat plugging. And you know what happens when I get excited at the beginning? I'll watch these back, and it sounds like I'm yelling at the guest. I don't know why. But, the biggest wrestler ever, Franco Varga.
Thank you.
The biggest wrestler that we've ever had on the lockdown sessions.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Hey.
That's good.
now you're like, hey, you stepped over the line.
Oh.
Franco, I want to thank you. I'm coming to you from a very cold and snowy Wisconsin day. Even though we are out of the UK, the lone guy representing the USA is myself. So it's a pleasure to have you on the lockdown sessions. Now, if you had a chance to kind of check out our format, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, but I got to go back to the beginning. I always have to start at the beginning.
Right.
Because I want everybody to know who we're talking to here. How long have you been in the business, sir?
2012. What's that? Quick math. 8? 8 years. Yeah, man. Oh, don't tell my back. But yeah, it's been that long. Not as long as other guys, but definitely, it feels long to me. So yeah, 8 years.
Baby,
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about how you got started and who broke you in, but we're going to go back even further than 8 years. So I'm going to jog the old memory.
Okay.
When you're a young biggest wrestler ever.
That's right.
Back in your younger years, you first turn on the TV. And professional wrestling is on. I assume that's how you discovered it. But who catches your eye? Who do you look up to on the screen and you're like, hey, I want to do that? You got some earliest memories of pro wrestling?
Yeah, I used to watch with my grandmother. Actually, she was huge on Carlos Colon and those guys, the CWC. So, or the WWC. Sorry, but me, personally was a huge Macho Man guy for forever. I was just like, why is he talking like this? I want to know everything about this guy. So like he was just so intriguing to me. He was definitely one of my favorites of all time. And then as I got a little bit older, I was a huge Razor Ramon. I was actually heartbroken when I found out he wasn't actually a Spanish dude. But I was a huge Razor Ramon fan. And then, The Rock, Chris Jericho, another one. And then I stopped watching right after the Attitude Era. And then I was doing a lot of football, things like that. Played some football out in Wyoming. Don't even get me started. It was free. So,
Wait, were you a cowboy?
Free college, yeah, I was. Two long years, finished my degree and all that. So, yeah. And then after the Attitude Era and that boom and all that, I was huge on what's his name, Steve Blackman. I just thought he's so different. Everybody's so over the top, and this guy just comes in and kicks dudes in the mouth. He was like. You remember Steven Seagal from back in the day? He was just like the pro wrestling Steven Seagal. So I was like huge on Steve Blackman, but he never got the the biggest push in the world or anything like that. But yeah, I just love the obscure. I was never like Austin, the top guys. I never really was big on the top guys. I was definitely huge on the mid card guys and the lower card guys. I just loved them. So yeah. I'm sure you don't hear too many guys say they're Steve Blackman guys.
But people will ask me the same thing, and I'm always like, I don't want to answer this. and it's no, because I'll never not love the guy, but you got to remember I'm older. But it was Greg Gagne for me in the AWA.
Oh yeah.
First time I turned the TV on, Greg Gagne is training with Sergeant Slaughter, and I'm a kid, and he's got the Rambo headband on, and yeah, I'll admit that maybe the Greg Gagne gimmick wasn't cool, but the guy, dude, you can't. And then, of course, I was Hulk Hogan like everybody else, but
yeah, I mean,
if it was side by side, I was like, dude, I got to watch the AWA, got to watch Gagne. He's my guy.
Yeah, I wasn't huge on Hogan, Shawn Michaels. I wasn't huge on those guys like that, but I was always like, I was just like, Steve Blackman seems legit, like super legit. Like they gotta like tell this guy not to kick him for real. Like I was always like, I'm pretty sure, he would be the champion if he really wanted to. So that's kind of what, I liked him so much.
What I've always wondered is guys like Blackman, Lesnar, the UFC guys, the MMA guys, Shamrock. Dude, how do you go in the ring with those guys? And if you accidentally potato them or something, and they just revert back into their original training or something,
you're done.
Yeah,
I
was like,
man.
Yeah. That was my biggest. Even when I'm watching, I'm like, because those guys train, and now they come into a different world. What keeps them from? Not saying they would do it on purpose and shoot on somebody. But just that accidentally, I just broke your jaw. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. It's deadly. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine like he falls and bumps his head and then he reverts back to that training. And unfortunately, you're in the ring with him, So, yeah, I would have definitely been a little cautious. So, yeah.
It isn't, I think Steve Blackman, one of the last things I had heard, because I had researched like, I would love to get a guy like Steve Blackman on this show because I'd love to go after guys that, hey, I haven't seen too many interviews with them. And I think it was from maybe 8 years ago that I could look on YouTube and he was a bounty hunter. He was like Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
Blackman's
That's true.
Bail
I saw
bonds
that
or
too.
something.
Yeah. I think I know he didn't do too many indie shows because of that whole like he's a shooter kind of thing. I know he went back to doing like karate events and stuff like that. Just like Ernest Miller, you remember the cat, he does shoot karate stuff. And so I know he definitely went back to doing, I think it was like bounty hunting. I think it was up in Canada or something weird like that.
Yeah. That's have you ever got a chance to meet Steve Blackman?
No, I haven't. Like that's one of those matches where like a cool little story, I guess not cool, but could have almost been super cool for me. I was a huge Vader fan as well. Loved Vader. And he was back on the scene and I was just like, man, it would be great to have a match with Vader. And then we were actually talking about getting him with me in the ring in Colorado, of all places where I started. And for a different company though. And then like they hit him up. They were like, hey man, like I don't know what the price would be, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, if you can get him, I'll work for free. Like one of the few times I'll be like, I'll work for free. I'll do it for free. I'll be there for free. So I was like, I'll do it for free. And then he like passed away like a week later, So I was like, oh no, I was heartbroken, man. Cause it sounded like they were going to try to do it, and I was just like, that sucks. But yeah, Blackman's, I don't know if he keeps training or what, but yeah, if you're interested, I'd be willing to do it, even if it's a shoot fight or whatever. I'd do a shoot fight, sure. But
we gotta make this happen now. Yeah, I will. If anybody out there has any way,
all of this, I'm sure.
Yeah, if anybody out there has any connections to Steve Blackman, drop us a DM. We'll try to drop Franco a DM on Twitter.
Let's make it happen.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool just to have him on to shoot the breeze. Hey, you volunteered to get your face punched in. I'm just volunteering to talking to the guy and promoting the event. So we've got.
Maybe we'll get a 2-for-1, 2 birds, 1 stone, and I'll get a new face. So
hey man, as long as it's I'm too old to. At least I think you would last in the ring a lot longer than I would. But,
I'd probably get a few hits in, and then I'm gonna try not to piss myself and be like, go out with dignity. But I'm sure he'd kick my butt.
Awesome. So yeah, Steve Blackman, you've been called out, my friend. And in a good way, because we love you and respect you.
I would put it like that. Jeez.
Franco's like, I totally regret agreeing to do this interview.
100%.
100%. All right,
100%.
let's move on. You're a fan of pro wrestling. How do you've been since 2008, but what's your story? Where do you break in? How do you find a school, somebody to train you? What's that story?
Yeah. So I first started out like same thing, football. And I actually got a friend of mine said, hey, these guys are doing and this is how far off I was from pro wrestling. These guys are doing a tryout. And I was just like, oh, like WWE, that'd be awesome. And he's like, no, it's independent wrestling. And I'm like, what's that? So I had no idea. And he's like, oh, yeah, all these smaller shows, blah, blah, blah. I'm going if you want to come. So sure. So I go with them. There's 14 guys. Out of the freaking 14 guys, including the guy I rode with, none of them made it. I'm standing there. Zach at the time, the guy who owned the company, and Tony, the guy who eventually trained me. They're like, hey, we like it. You know, if you want to come, this is what it would cost. And we're trained by Les Thatcher. And I had to go Google real quick. Who's Les Thatcher? I swear, I promise I'm better at this stuff now. But back when I was breaking into the business, I had no idea. Actually, funny story, my first match after maybe like 6 to 8 months of training straight, I drove like 2.5 hours each way to get trained. I fell in love with it, and I knew the NFL wasn't going to be like a thing for me. I knew. I just knew. I think a lot of guys go through that where they just know, and I was like, man, I love this wrestling thing. 6 to 8 months training, and I get taken down to Amarillo, Texas, legendary place. And I'm training there, and I'm doing the when they were the NWA, what NWA used to be. I'm working those loops, and I bump into a guy who lives in Amarillo, local to Amarillo, and it's freaking Terry Funk. I had no idea. So I'm like, oh man, like I felt like an idiot, but at the same time I was just like, hey man, what would you do different and stuff, and he was just one of those guys that like, yeah, like try this is where like he didn't have to take the time with any of us, like anyone in that room, so. And then after that, it was off to the races. I got picked to go all the way to Iowa and wrestle in front of Gerald Briscoe. And a cool story out of that, I met Kurt Angle, little cool name drop. But the funny part was I'm walking in the hallway, I'm getting ready, I got my gear on, and he's just walking through the hallway, and he stops and says, hey, I'm Kurt Angle. And I go, yeah. And he goes, okay, and walks by me, and I'm just like, you idiot, that was Kurt Angle. so like at the time I was just like, I mean, they always say we're all marks, and it's true. I was just like not really well coached as far as like the business portion at that point. And I knew how to bump, I knew how to work a match, but I had no idea how the business worked, So like at that point, I'm still like a fan a little bit, But yeah, I wrestled in front of Jerry. He liked my stuff, and he actually helped me. He knew, we spoke for like 5 minutes after the match and everything. And he's like, what's your goals? And I honestly was like, this independent wrestling stuff is really cool. My goal is to really travel the world. And I don't think WWE is something for me. I just don't want to do this 300 days a year. I want to do it maybe 100 days, but I don't want to do it 300 days a year. And he respected the hell out of that, because I was the only guy in the room that didn't want to try out. And he's like, hey, you ever been to Puerto Rico? And I was like, Puerto Rico, Carlos Colon, my grandmother will love this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I jumped at the opportunity. He's like, make sure call him on Monday. I'll call him now. Call him on Monday. Get your stuff situated and go. And then it's been a crazy ride ever since. So yeah.
So a lot to unwrap right there. I'm going to go back to playing football at Wyoming. What position did you play?
Oh man, I was a free safety. From my school, the school's more famous for passing on a little guy named Matt Ryan than anything else. So yeah, that they could have had Matt Ryan, and they told him to go somewhere else, which he went to Boston College, and now he's like legendary, you know. But yeah, it wasn't a great school. It was they were D1 for a while. Now they're like D2, I believe. And it was free. You know, I grew up in New York City, so when I was time to graduate high school, and I got this that was just like, where is Wyoming on the map? Like, point to it, because I have no idea. So it was free though. I was more worried about, you know, not being in debt to go to school. And I've always been huge on like traveling and getting out there. And like, I knew I didn't want to stick around and be in New York City for my whole life. Like, I know a lot of guys who never left, you know, so I didn't want that for me. So I was just like, great. I get there. I remember this to this day, June 7th, it's snowing outside. So I'm like, what did I get myself into? So yeah, so that's, it was a culture shock, big time. But I did, I was okay, B's and C's, you know, not the, you know, not typical meathead kind of thing. But yeah, that was it. You know, I did 2 years there, finished my degree at a small community college, or brought the community college stuff in and finished it. So yeah, it was fun. But at the same time, I was just like, what changed it for me was the year we played TCU. They're down in Texas school. And they had just played and got blown out by Alabama. And when those guys showed up, I was just like, there's no way I can be in the NFL. These guys are huge, you know? So I was just like, okay, there's no way. So I'm probably not going to pursue that. And I know a couple guys that did the whole, I don't know if you know, like, you can go attend combines, tryouts, camps by different teams. Some of them are paid if you get invited. Some of them you just show up and try to walk on. There's a team about that guy, or there's a movie about that guy who did that with the Eagles. He just like walked on. I think Mark Wahlberg was in it. But yeah, that was. But you know that's one of the. What's that?
Invincible.
Invincible, right? Dang it. That's one of the few times that's ever been done, and football's been around for 50 plus years. So this is some pretty high odds, you know? So I was being realistic with my life, and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to go to Canada to play football. I didn't love football that much. It was just a way of getting some free school. So.
Absolutely. A couple other things I keep going, you know, I played at a Division III school.
Oh, nice. Where, in Wisconsin?
In Wisconsin, yeah. It was UW River Falls. So I always say, here's high school, Division III. You know, oh, you played college ball? I did, but we're Division III. Obviously, we're just the guys that nobody wants, but it's such a step up from high school football. Right. So I'm proud of the hard work that was put in there. But yeah, when they say, and this is not, if you're a child, if you're under 18 listening to this, just mute this part for you right now. There's nothing dirty about it, but I'm going to tell you, Franco, when they tell you anything you want to be, just you can be it. Guess what? I can't be fast. I can't be in the NFL. I can't grow 6 inches and be fast all of a sudden. So yeah, it was really disappointing from those.
I'm 6 even, you know, in shoes 6'1", and I'm just like, well, can't do anything about that. Yeah. So it's just like, I feel for guys sometimes what they want that's so bad, and like it just doesn't work out. You know, like what do you do? Like, you know, at least I'm happy for myself. I had a plan B, and not really a plan B. This is when I took that first bump. This became my plan A. You know, and I just stuck with it to the point where I'm just like doing these podcasts, going all over the world, doing stuff like that. Where I not to sound like an asshole, but I can go in a room and not really have to introduce myself at this point. That's really like, it's, to me, that's like, okay, I'm kind of making a little wave in this crazy world of pro wrestling. I still have to fans and stuff, I'm sure, but within the community, you know, most of them know, oh yeah, brother, I know who you are. I'm such and such, you know. So that's like, oh, okay, cool.
That's a big thing.
It's the little things, you know. It's the little things. So.
And I just thought of the guy's name, Vince Papale, that Mark Wahlberg played. He's the guy that tried out for the Eagles. And the reason why I keep going back to that movie is, now pro wrestling tryouts, the similarity where I'm going to go, that scene where he's at the tryout and there's like 300-pound guy in a cape and all that. Dude, that to me was like every pro wrestling tryout I've ever seen, because people just sit on the couch, drink beer, and go, I can do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Man, I've done camps for, Impact Wrestling and the bigger, and it's just like, buddy, maybe you should have done this in a couple years after some, and it's just like guys show up super underprepared, and it's just like you feel for them, but at the same time, it's like, like I said, we got to be realistic about where we're at and how far we can go. So like I've always been realistic with myself, where I put my happiness before money any day of the week. So I know like something like WWE, I'm like, unless it was like perfect, but I've heard too many horror stories and just too many things that I'm just like, nah, I think I like it on the indies. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be cool and have a decent little life and be happy than that. So, but yeah, those, oh man, I'm sure you've seen your fair share. But,
yeah. And the thing, people just come in out of shape. Oh, I can do that. And I'm like, dude, in my heyday, and I'm not saying I had a big heyday, but wrestling every weekend and stuff, or a couple times a weekend, there was days when I woke up in the middle of it going, yeah, you know what? You think you can do this? Some days I'm not sure I can keep doing it because I'm beat up. You're sick. You're on the road. You're doing stuff. You sacrifice so much.
You show up and the rental car's a lot smaller than they advertise, or the hotel's crappy, or the flight was crappy, or there's only 50 people and they normally said they draw 1,000. Yeah, dude, trust me. Yeah, I get it.
You're sore as shit and you're sleeping in your car that night.
Cold. Man.
Do I eat dinner or do I put this in my gas tank?
Right.
That's the thing.
Depends how far you got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked with a great guy yesterday. Isn't Cabana Man Dan?
Yeah, I know him with the flip flops. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Him.
So, and I just, the whole reason I hesitate is I'm like, depends on when they put these interviews out. But he was telling me he would drive to towns in his rental car, and on the way there, he'd stop in a town, and he could log on and do like Uber Eats and do some food delivery for people. And he said he'd do it for like 4 hours, make himself $40-$50 for gas money, and then keep driving. I'm like, dude,
wow,
that's something I would have never thought of.
Yeah, that's super smart. Damn.
That's another reason I'm a dinosaur. I could have never done that back in the day because we didn't have GPS. I would have got lost. I get lost in my hometown sometimes,
Yeah, I'm telling you, same. Yeah, same. I live by this thing.
So it's got to be, you go from New York City to Wyoming, there's probably more people on your block in New York City than in the entire state. Yeah. What is that like?
Oh, dude, it was insane. But at the same time, I really wouldn't change or trade that in for the world. Like I learned and I grew so much being outside of the city, and like now it teaches me to like appreciate things. Where like if I would have never left, I'd probably go to do an indie show or whatever. Even if I got into pro wrestling, I'd probably go do an indie show and then go straight to the hotel and not go out and explore, So now, like, whenever I go places, I try to, if they're going to book me on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of deal, I try to show up Thursday and just a whole day of exploring, especially when it's all over. That's something I picked up in Wyoming. I was never really like that before. So not just like city stuff too, just nature things, Grand Canyon, stuff like that. That's stuff I would have never done before. It's the first time I saw an antelope, I was like, what is that supposed to be? So yeah, but no, I wouldn't have it was just like huge for my growth and maturity as a person. So yeah,
it's always good to get out of your hometown for a little while. That's the advice I always give not just
Yeah.
wrestling or anything, but just like
Yeah, just life, right?
life. So many people, like I'm back in my hometown now and I'm
Mm.
happy about it, but I wouldn't have appreciated it if I'd been here. I know people that have been here their entire lives, and it's like,
Yeah.
you got to get out. We
Yeah,
are,
for
um, New York City's a melting pot. My
huge.
hometown is definitely not a melting pot. I'm like, you got to
Right.
go out and meet people from different backgrounds and stuff. It's so fun. I got to work internationally, and you have too. We'll talk about it. But how
Yeah.
cool is it to meet people with different accents, different languages, different food, different? I mean, if you
Dude,
don't, if
yeah.
you're not embracing that, like I could sit there and go, "Oh, the travel sucks," but man, on the other side of that travel, I'm a
It's
guy
so
from Wisconsin that never thought I'd see New York City, let alone Sydney, Australia, Auckland, New Zealand, London, England. And we've been afforded a lot of really good opportunities. But we are wrestling travel, as you know. We bring
right.
people all over the world to the best wrestling events. Not so much in 2020, I'll be honest.
Right.
But
It's a tough year.
business been a little slow.
A little bit.
Um,
A little bit.
but what are you've been everywhere, dude. I've
Yeah.
done, looking up where what was the first, where did you first wrestle out of the US? We'll start there.
I mean, I know sometimes I say Puerto Rico and then I'm done. It's part of the US, But
Still, that counts.
my first thing outside was Mexico. And then right after, and it was just like a one weekend thing, and it was kind of like culture shock and all that. But then right after that, literally I had a day in between the two. I had to go up to Canada and do a 30-day tour. And the headliner on the indie side was me, but the headliner on the legend side was Ron Simmons, someone who I had a little bit of a relationship with at the time, and we were in the same car. And then our relationship, I actually just hung up with him today. So he's helped me a lot. He's the guy I call whenever between him and Tony. Those are the guys I call and I say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or this came up. What would you do? Because they've lived this life already. They've done this. These steps that I'm taking now, they've already done this 20 years ago. So that's why I try to hit up Ron and I'm like, hey, back when you were 31, if this would have came up, what would you have done? So that's our conversations, But 30 days in the car, and I think I got to see all of Canada, which was really cool. Thunder Bay, Winnipeg, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary. I marked out, went to the Hart House, all that. And I was just like, if he says damn one more time, I'm going to lose it. It was just the same thing, so I was just like, but something that sticks with me about that tour, and he tells me all the time is it took me 30 years to figure out that all this hard work I've been doing was for nothing, because all I have to say is one word to get over. And he's even helped me with the biggest wrestler ever thing that's caught on for me. I'm not the biggest wrestler ever, obviously. There's been giants, actual giants. But it's something cool, and it's some not controversial, but it's a gimmick, and it's something that I definitely get behind, and he was definitely one of the guys to help me with it. So, but yeah, after we did Canada, man, Too Cold Scorpio, I have to talk about. I wrestled Too Cold Scorpio, and he pulled me to the side and said, "Have you been to Japan yet?" And I said, "Absolutely not." Where is this going? So picks up his phone. I'm gonna call the guy. Text me some of your pictures. So I did that. Next thing you know, I got a call 2 weeks later, and it's being offered to. It really wasn't. And I'll be honest, it wasn't any pay or anything like that. It was more an opportunity to learn and to get a spot. And it was a affiliate of a huge company, which is All Japan Pro Wrestling, and Pure Pro is the little one. So that's what I got to go do. And of course, I had no idea. I'm not a big nerd culture guy. So like I was like, hey, what's all these like robot statues and stuff? And they're like, that's Gundam, you idiot, you know? And I'm like, well, what's that? Like, is that on
What is that?
YouTube?
Yeah.
So I learned a ton. I got to I was at the hotel right under where the Pikachu parade started. So I got to actually, I don't know if you go back on my social media, you'll see like I was just super like geeked out, like this is crazy. And then after I came back home, I went back to Mexico again for a little while and really took it in. It was more than just a weekend. It was actually like a month. And then I had an ankle injury. So right after that, which sucked, kind of put, I was 2016, so that kind of put like that whole year in the trash for me, you know, the rest of the year. But I healed up, and that's when I really wanted to hit it the most. I started really kind of coming back in the mid-Atlantic area of the States. So anywhere from like Delaware to Florida, I was wrestling in that straight line up and down every weekend. And then after that, I got picked to go do the UK, the Road to Glory for Preston City Wrestling. So I love those guys, and I don't want to leak anything, but I mean you'll see me in March, right? So, but the Road to Glory is big because it's you know, it's televised, it's TV in a different country. The year before me was the big name was Apollo Crews for the American guys. So it was an honor to be picked for that. And then, well, I wasn't alone. You know, there was like Jeff Cobb and MGF, who's like killing it. Love that guy. And so it was us. Yeah, it was us three. So out of the three of us, I'm doing the least, I guess. No, I just don't want to be with a big 3-letter tie you down to a contract kind of company right now, you know. But no, those guys are killing it. And then after that, I did some more indies. I worked with a few buds, and I actually got, I don't know if you remember this, I got to challenge for the X Division title when Brian Cage was a champion. I don't know.
Okay.
Impact was doing a bunch of these like open challenge things, kind of like the NWA does now. And so that was like a big one for me because that was one of those ones where I was just like, man, I'm pretty good at this. Like I'm actually like I don't suck anymore, you know. That was like one of those nights where I realized like, man, I don't suck as bad as I used to. This is great. So and then after that, of course, Australia was awesome. I was the Infinite champion at the time, which is I guess Eastern and Southeastern. So if you cut the country in half, that's what the championship is. You know, so I was a champion of half a country, half of America.
Australia, right?
No, I took that belt to Australia to defend
you took it to
Australia.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and then I defended it in Australia, and it was like over 2 weeks. It was really cool. I got to see like Sydney. I got to see Queensland. Queensland was my favorite. Shout out to Queensland. They have so many cool little things. The really cool like surfing. It was amazing. And a big thing, which I don't really tell too many people other than like the people that know me, a big thing about me is I won't eat McDonald's when I'm home, but I will eat. I have to have McDonald's overseas, just because I don't know if you know you should know the menus are different.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. so everywhere I've been, every country I've been to, I have to find a McDonald's.
If you're in Australia, you have to ask where the Macca's is.
Macca's, yeah.
Macca's.
I was very. I was like, wait, you guys don't call it McDonald's? It looks like a McDonald's, but everything on the menu says Macca's. So
they got to shorten everything, and they are cool over there, but they got to
cool.
shorten stuff to be cool.
Yeah, but everything on the menu is always different. If you guys, wrestling travel, when you book guys to go places, I'm sure you tell them McDonald's. Go to McDonald's, trust me.
Or do you know, a trivia question here just come, Burger King is not called Burger King in Australia. Do you know what it's called?
I had Burger King one night with, referee Troy. man, it's not called Burger King. You know why I probably don't know this? Because that same night they took me to a drive-up liquor store, and I lost my stuff. I lost it. I was like, y'all have this over here? So you're telling me they come up to the window and just put the liquor in here? This is insane. What's it called?
It's called Hungry Jack's. But it's like the same colors, the logo, everything. And I forget the reason why they can't call it Burger King, but it's Hungry Jack's, I believe.
Hungry Jack's, dang. Yeah, if you notice that, like, all their burgers over there have egg. Like, there's an egg in everything. So I was like, wow, I wish that was back home. I'd probably eat more fast food. But yeah, the drive-up liquor store was amazing. Amazing. I was just like, this is really bad. Because in America, we'd have so many more DUIs because people would just crack them open right there.
So quick story. I'm dating a girl in Australia, and she's vegetarian. So I'm like, all right, I'll eat vegetarian. You know, when you're young and dumb and like, yeah, I'll do that for you. So I ate vegetarian for like, I don't know, a week, 14 days there. And I'm like, shit, I can do this. I didn't think I could do this.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I got back home and went to the store. And bought, I live in Pennsylvania. Bought like the veggie burgers. Bought everything. I never got so sick in my life from like the preservatives and additives that you always hear that America has that. There's a place in Australia. I was in Sydney. It was called Grilled. And I'm like, I'm just going to have a plain burger. Because everybody always talks about Australia's food so much better. So I had a plain burger. And I'm like, literally, if you guys get a chance when the world opens up to get over to like New Zealand, Australia, their food. I had a plain burger, and I'm like, that beef was the best tasting burger I've had, just on pure, and it was nothing. It was just plain. So yeah. I mean, I don't want the food and drug people to jump on us, but there's something about that when they say, hey, all these substances that are banned are in American food, and then you go there. I mean, besides like, I mean, did you find that too? Like your Macca's tasted a little bit better?
It was, dude, especially the breakfast. I was like, damn, this is slamming. And you know what was funny? The double cheeseburger in Canada tastes like a totally different thing, totally different. And then I don't really do Big Macs, and that's my go-to is just a little double cheeseburger if I'm gonna go to McDonald's, if I have to, you know. But it tastes like totally different. I'm like, what meat are they using? Can't be the normal McDonald's meat. But I think it is an American thing. I think we just, you know, make it cheap as possible, you know.
I got to back up on you again. So when you're in Canada, are you doing that tour with CWE by chance?
Yeah. Did you see
Hot Shot Danny Duggan?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. They just got featured with Jericho. They just did the stuff with Jericho.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, those guys I love those guys. They're really cool. AJ Sanchez, another one.
Dude, that's a big dude who can move.
Oh God, he's the workhorse of that promotion. And you're talking 30 days, 30 shows in 30 days. It's takes a lot of work. You know, if Ron was here, he'd probably tell you how many stories of me just starting to complain. He's like, "You're getting cranky. Go, all right, just go somewhere else." You know, like. There's some nights on the tour I'm just like, I don't wanna no more, you know. I'm generally like pretty happy-go-lucky. I'm normally like pretty cool about things, but some days on that tour I was so beaten up and so bruised, and like I don't like taking a night off, so I gotta bump and work my style of match, you know. So like every night is a different crowd. I gotta give them a good match. And it takes a toll, especially like that many nights back to back. And he would tell me like, man, not even in the territories, like this is, you know, like we'd have a couple of days off here and there, but this is rough. And so I'm like, man, like even when I would try to tell myself like I probably shouldn't bump as much as that, I'll probably just, you know, do a couple things. Nope. We'd start, you know, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna do my match, you know. So yeah, but that was one of the few times in my life where I was just like, I just don't want to talk to anybody today.
How did you try the poutine?
Poutine, yeah. So every time I go somewhere, I try to. I'm from New York City, so I try to try the new food, whatever they recommend, the locals recommend, and then I try to learn a little bit of the slang, right? So like when I was in the UK, I was just like saying it wrong. You're taking a piss, and they're just like, no, and I'm like, oh, what do you drink? You're drinking a piss? What is it? And it's just, I was annoying everybody. Like, no, that's not how you do that. That's not how you say it. But the poutine was just gravy with a little bit of cheese and on fries. And I was like, I don't like this. And they're like, yeah, none of the American guys that really come over like it. I was like, why are you guys so proud of this? But yeah, they're super proud of it. I mean, you can't say nothing bad about poutine to them, but I didn't like it at all.
Well, we're talking about Canada. I spent 2 weeks in Canada last summer, and I swear on the Bible that I was in Ontario,
Okay.
and then I went up by Montreal, but I could have never been more than 5 minutes away from a Tim Hortons. It's everywhere.
Okay.
Dude,
you gotta go back in time to my social media.
Yeah.
It's the worst coffee, and I would complain daily about it on live. I get so much heat over it. I get so much heat from them over it. But yeah, no, you can't beat Dunkin' Donuts. Come on. I'm sure when a bunch of my Canadian friends see this interview, they're gonna give me they're gonna message me. But no, Dunkin' is amazing. Dunkin's a national treasure. You need Dunkin'. Everyone should drink Dunkin' in the morning. Tim Hortons is trash. I hate it. It's not good. It's not good.
Well, my story before you started trashing them, now that they're gonna hate us,
they're terrible. Are they a sponsor on the show? Oh, Tim
no,
Hortons
not well. we were in talks about it, but I think that kind of went down the toilet.
Sorry,
that's all right. Suck. Turns out you're now the sponsor of the show, buddy.
Awesome.
No, but they were everywhere. I'd be in Toronto, just on a city block. There'd be 17 of them, and then we'd be driving. It'd be nothing but cow pastures, and in the middle of a field, a freaking Tim Hortons, man. So fantastic.
It's like Starbucks in like California, Seattle and stuff. It's like every other store is a Starbucks. Like enough is enough, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they make money, but hey, I mean, not they make money, but when you're literally across the street from each other.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
So meanwhile,
you're not even that good.
Well, I tried. I'm a fat guy, so I tried the maple donut. I don't drink coffee though.
Oh, I'm a coffee guy. Love me some coffee, and I just hated theirs. So, so yeah.
Not to be gross, but I tried to drink coffee. I tried to be a sophisticated coffee drinker in high school. And I thought, you know what, the caffeine, and even now I read the benefits of coffee. I was at home. I started to go to school. I had myself a cup of coffee. I got into the van that we were driving at the time to drive myself to school, backed up the driveway, got almost on the road, put her back in drive. Dude, bathroom time. I was like, that coffee destroyed me. And I've tried it, in moderation, and I'm like, dude, it just does not agree with my system. Like when I decide that I'm going to lose all my weight for a big Hollywood roll or something, dude, I'm going to drink the Folgers, and I'm going to be like 110 pounds. But meanwhile, off of the food reviews, I mean, you've traveled all over the world. That's fantastic. Now, let's put you on the spot. Every little country and stuff, I know you got a little soft spot for, but if I said, hey, this is it, gun to your head, where was your favorite? You know what? No, I'm not even going to do that to you. I'm going to do this. Tell me the difference. This is a hard-hitting question. What are the difference in the fans? Wrestling for a fan in the U.S. versus Japan, Canada, Mexico. There's got to be. I know the big difference in Japan is it's a very quiet, respectful audience. But like now you got UK.
I wrestled there, and I thought I was like doing something wrong because I was like, they're not really There's no reaction. And then afterwards, like, oh, okay, there's a quiet little clap. Yeah, but no, I guess the UK fans are super rowdy, super rowdy. There's either a pub in the place or outside of the place, or the place itself is a pub when you wrestle there, So super rowdy. They love it. The harder you hit the guy, the more they're gonna go crazy, So that's the UK, and they also, which is crazy to me, they also love their chain wrestling. I don't know how that works, right? Mexico's more, if you have a great entrance, I've always seen in Mexico, you're in, you're made there. If you have a great entrance, you're made. Sandman would have made $1 billion in Mexico if he would have been there, 100% of the time. Canada is kind of like, they're super nice, even if you're a heel. Like they're actually, because I try to stay in character and stuff, so they're actually like pretty taken aback when you're a heel at the gimmick table too. So they're like, huh, you really are an a-hole. Like, what's your problem? I guess I'll take a shirt, So they're super nice. And then Australia,
nice.
Oh man, Australia is really, they give you a hard time. It's such a hard time. They're some of the best trash talkers on the planet, that I've run into. These are fans. I'm talking even fans. And then, man, depending on where in America, you go, like New York's its own scene. The South is its own scene. You kind of have to wrestle differently, really. I've seen, I do a weekly show on TV with Ricky Morton down in Tennessee, and you grab a guy in a headlock and spit on him and rake his eyes, and the crowd will go nuts. You do a Canadian Destroyer, and they're like, "What's that?" So it depends on where you're at, and I always tell guys that, like, you can't really, you can work your match, but you can't really do the same things all over the world. It changes, So I know you mentioned coronavirus earlier, but like one of the big things for this year that I have booked for me was my debut in India. And I was supposed to go for 2 months and, help, Greg Khali's school and all that over there. And I was just like, man, this is going to be huge, blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to ruin anything, but it'll happen in 2021 if, restrictions and things and all that. So, but I've heard crazy. I mean, it gets nuts. It gets insane. People bring you their firstborn if you're over there, like, take my baby. You're amazing,
Sign my baby.
Yeah, sign my baby, so. So I've heard crazy things over there. So I'm super, like, I definitely want, things to get back to normal and be safe for everybody before anything opens, really. But I definitely want to go to India. That's like one of the things on my list, for sure.